Good morning, students. Welcome back to our online class. So today we will be seeing the second chapter in biology, that is in class 8. That will we are in class 8. So the chapter name is like microorganisms, friend and foe. So what does this friend and foe means? So these microorganisms, whatever are there, how they are useful and how what are its different harmful effects we are going to see in today's class or in this chapter. That is what how does these microorganisms help us in one or the other way, and how at the same time what are its harmful effects either to the environment or to the animals or the plants or the human beings or the human beings, how they are harmful we are going to see. So today, before going to see that class, what we will do is, so you have been seeing the several kinds of living organisms or the microorganisms or the plants and animals. So you know various kinds of organisms that may be in case of plants and animals. So there are some plants and living organisms which are not visible by our naked eyes. So those which are not visible by our naked eyes are called as microorganisms or the microbes. So today in this class we are going to see what are these microorganisms and what are its effects or how it becomes useful to us and how they are related to us and how they are harmful to us. So we are going to see. So now what exactly we can understand or how exactly we can understand by this microorganisms word. So you might have seen in your homes like we get bread for like for some or the other reasons we don't eat it or consume it as early as possible, so that we keep it for 2 to 3 days. So when we try to store it, what happens is like when we try to store it closely, there is some microorganisms growth that takes place. This happens during most frequently in the rainy season. So there will be the growth of the microorganisms on the bread surface. So you could see that on the bread there would be the grayish black color or black formation or green color on that bread. So those that growth, whatever you have seen, that happens because there is some presence of moisture in the bread. So because of that, there are the microorganisms growth that taking place. So that is called as microorganisms or that growth. So what happens is when you try to see this organisms under the microscope, then you could see that the black hole-like structures. So those are called as the bacteria. So those black patches or these patches, when you observe the microscope, then you will get to know that these which organisms which are not visible by our eyes are called as microorganisms or the. So what does this microorganisms are? So there has been many observations like you can see that even in water or in soil there are many microorganisms or growth of microorganisms takes place in both the water and soil. So what you need to do is collect some quantity of soil, and from that soil you need to take that soil and put it into a beaker, and now what you need to do is add water to it. Then you will see that after some time the soil particles have been settled down. Then observe that the drop of the beaker from water from the under the microscope. After getting the settling down of that water, observe that under the microscope. So you will see that some microorganisms which small, minute, tiny, which are not visible by our eyes, those are called as microorganisms. So this was the activity which has to be done. Like you will see that there are some microorganisms which are moving in water. By this we conclude that soil and the water both have the of tiny living organisms which are called as or the microbes. So you can see that microorganisms or the microbes, they same size. They have some are very small in size, some may be very large in size. So there is difference in their size. So that is why that they are called as the microorganisms, or we cannot see with our naked eyes. So how many you can see these microorganisms are broadly classified into four categories. So what are those? We will see. So the microorganisms are classified into four categories. That is four major groups or four categories. So what are they? We are going to see. So first one is the bacteria. Next is the fungi. Then we have algae. Then we have protozoa. So these are the four major categories or the classifications of the microorganisms which have been done. That is bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and algae. So all these four categories, how they are helpful and what are its harmful effects by these. So we are going to study in this chapter. There is one more class of microorganisms, that is the viruses. So what happens is these viruses are different from other microorganisms, that may be bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae. So what makes these viruses differ from these four categories is that viruses, they only act upon the host organisms. So those host organisms may be either plants, animals, or in some cases that may be the human beings. So when they come in contact or when they act on these living organisms, they go into the cells of these organisms, they become active and they cause the harmful or some may be useful or some may be harmful viruses. So these are the difference between the viruses and the bacteria. So we'll see like dysentery, malaria, these are caused by bacteria, that is the protozoa. Then we have some of the diseases like cold, influenza, then different types of coughs. So these are caused by the bacteria. So what are the different diseases that are caused by viruses? Are the like we have this polio, chickenpox. So these are caused by the viruses. At the same time, we have some bacterial diseases. Those are called as TB, tuberculosis, typhoid. So these are some of the diseases which are caused by bacteria, viruses. In case of viruses, we have the chickenpox, polio. Those are caused by viruses, and we have the common cold, cough. So fever, flu, those are also caused by these viruses. Some protozoal diseases like some of the protozoal diseases like dysentery, malaria, so those are caused by the protozoa. So these were the different. In detail, we will be studying in further chapters. So next, there are some figures given in your textbook. Like we have this different in figure 2.1. You will be seeing that this is the figure for different kinds of bacteria. Then we have algae. Then we have protozoa. Then we have different fungi. So in case of algae, we have Chlamydomonas, Spirogera. So about this, you will be studying in your higher classes about these living organisms, characteristics, or what, how they are. You will be studying in the further classes. Then we have the protozoa, that is amoeba, paramecium, as the two examples for the protozoa. Then fungi, we have blood mold, penicillin, and aspergillus. So these are the examples of the fungi. So there are different figures which are given for in case of viruses. So this you will be again studying in the their characteristics, how they are, how they look like, how their body structures are made. You will be studying in your higher classes. Now the question comes like, even I asked you the same question, like where do microorganisms usually live? So what at what places they live or where they are found. So you can see that microorganisms are microorganisms, like some of them are bacteria, algae. So you can see that they are the single cell, and some of these are the multicellular, such as many algae and fungi. So bacteria, some of bacteria, algae, some algae, and protozoa you will be seeing in the cell. That is, they have only one cell, living cell, and some microorganisms are even multicellular. So multicellular may be some of the algae, that is algae, and the fungi. So those are the cell structure. Some are single cell and some are multicellular. So you can see that these all the microorganisms live in all the types of the environment, whether it is from the very cold region to the hot region, they are present. That is, they can grow there. Then they can also live in the deserts, that is, to the deserts, to the marshy lands, that is the wet or the dry cold winds. So those in those areas also they are found. So they are also found on the inside the bodies of the animals, including the human beings. So where do these microorganisms live is, they can be lived from the very cold region to hot region, or from the desert region to the marshy lands, or from they can live in the living organisms like animals, and in case or in the living organisms like we human beings, they are also present. So this is how these are the places where the microorganisms live or the growth takes place. So now let's see how these microorganisms and we are created, or how they are helpful in one or the other way. That is, some bacteria are used in many of our food preparation of food items. That is, if you take bread, cake, or you take curd. So there are some bacteria which are being useful, that helps in the preparation of the food items, like it is in the preparation of dosa batter or idli batter. There also we use this bacteria or the yeast, which helps in the fermentation process. So those things we are going to study now. So friendly microorganisms, various microorganisms which are there, they are used for the various purposes. So they may be used as I have already said you, they can be used in the preparation of curd, or the bread, or the cake. So they can also be used in cleaning up of these environment. So some of the microorganisms, or the bacteria, fungi, they can also be used in the cleaning of the environment. And for example, if you take the waste of the animals, or the vegetable peelings, or the plants, they what they do is they try to dump in one place, and the bacteria acts on that. That is, the bacterial activity is going to take place, and that is getting converted into the fertilizers, and that is added to the soil to increase the soil fertility. So in the last class we had studied about the adding of manures and the fertilizers. So wherein we saw to increase the fertility or the nutrient capacity, so we are adding the manures. So these manures are getting converted with the help of these bacterial activities. So they are also used in cleaning up of the environment, or to increase the soil fertility. So these are also being used. So first we see how this making of curd and bread is done with the help of the bacteria. So we see that curd contains several microorganisms, that is called Lactobacillus. So this is one bacteria which helps in the preparation or conversion of milk to the curd. So with the help of this bacteria, what happens is this Lactobacillus or Lactobacillus bacteria, it promotes the growth of the bacteria, this bacteria, such that whatever the milk we add, that is getting converted into the curd. So bacteria are also, you can see that not only here, but bacteria are also involved in the formation of cheese or curd, buttermilk. So it also has the making of cheese, pickles, and many other food items. So these bacteria are also used there. Then you can see that an important ingredient in in the preparation of idli batter or dough or dosa batter or in any of the preparation of instant dosas. So we add their yeast and bacteria. So this helps in the fermentation of this dosa batter or the idli batter. So in all these cases, we can see that they are useful in one or the other ways. So first we will see what are useful to the human beings in preparation of the food. So when we add this yeast or the bacteria to the dosa batter or rava or idli, you can see that when you leave for over a long period like 8 to 10 hours, there will be some you can see that there will be some fluffy or the dough has been increased in its size, that is the volume of that is being increased. You can see that some of the bubbles that have been formed on that batter, so that is because of the growth of or the fermentation of yeast. So that is given in your picture, that is there are some gases which are filled in those batters. So you can see in your textbook that figure, so that the volume has been increased. This is because of the use of yeast. So this yeast can also be used in making of cakes, breads, so that there gives the fluffy, that is the sponginess of this cake or the bread can be increased. So we add this yeast, that is the microorganism or bacteria, for the preparation of bread, pastries or the cakes. Then there are some microorganisms which are being used on the commercial basis for many of the production, like we use it in the preparation of alcohol or some acetic acids. In those, we are also being using this bacteria or the microorganisms. So microorganisms are used for the in large scale for the production of alcohol. We use this bacteria, some of the bacteria, like in preparation of alcohol, wine, acetic acid. So we are going to use. So you can see that yeast is used commercially in the preparation of alcohol and wine. So while they are preparing this alcohol, they try to add this yeast so that the grapes or the stored grapes that is actually being converted into wine or alcohol, add exactly to get that taste, they add this yeast. So they are used in the preparation of alcohol and wine. For this purpose, what they do is this yeast is grown in natural sugar present grains like wheat, barley, rice, then some of the crushed fruit juices they are going to grow along with the crops which those contain the sugar contains, like wheat, rice, barley, some of the crushed fruit juices. Like in all these, they try to grow along with the yeast and these crops. So this is how the yeast is being grown. So what you need to do, there is one activity, that is you need to take one beaker, then you need to fill that with the 3/4 of the water. In that beaker, 3/4 of that beaker should be filled with water. Then dissolve 2 to 3 spoons of the sugar in it. Then add half spoon of the yeast, that is half spoon of yeast should be added, yeast powder, to that sugar solution. Then keep it in warm place for 4 to 5 hours. Then you will see that the sugar is getting converted, and that is with the help of that sugar and yeast, that is getting converted into alcohol, and you will be smelling that. So that smell, you can see that is similar to the alcohol smell. So this smell is because of the alcohol, as sugar is being converted into alcohol. So what happens is, with the help of yeast, that sugar solution is getting converted into alcohol, and the process of conversion of sugar to alcohol is known as fermentation. So even in the dosa batter, when we try to add this yeast, then there will be fermentation of that dough, whether it is in preparation of cake or any of the pastries. There also we will see the fermentation is being taken place. So the process of the conversion of sugar to into alcohol is known as fermentation. So this fermentation was first discovered by Louis Pasteur. So in 1856, he discovered or he gave this fermentation process. So we'll see now what are the medical uses of these microorganisms. So usually you will see that we fall ill, whether it is in rainy seasons we suffer from cold, cough, or in winter season we do get some cold, cough, or fever. So we usually get in these seasons very frequently ill. So what do the doctors refer us, or when we go to doctor, they try to give us the antibodies. So antibody tablet or the antibodies tablets. So what does these antibodies do is these antibodies, by using all these microorganisms that like specific or the specific microorganisms is used in preparation of the antibodies. So what happens is when we take this antibodies, they fight against the bacteria which are being present or the viruses which are being present, so that they make us fit and fine. So those antibodies are being used with the help of these microorganisms. We are using this as an antibodies. So these medicines, whatever we take, that either kill the microorganism or they stop the growth of the microorganisms. So these antibiotics are given for that purpose. So these days you can see that there are been many antibiotics which have been developed because of the increasing technology or the there are different for each and every disease we are suffering. There are different antibiotics which have been developed. So that's some of these some bacteria or fungi that are being using. So by using this, some antibiotics name have been given, that is streptomycin, tetralysin, and erythromycin. That is some of the commonly used or known antibiotics which are made from bacteria and fungi. So streptomycin, tetralysin, erythromycin. So these are the antibiotics which have been prepared from the various or the specific fungi or the bacteria. That is, by using specific bacteria or fungi, we are preparing this antibiotics. So this was about the medical use. So you can see that the antibiotics have been manufactured by growing the specific microorganisms, and they are at specific temperature and pressure they are being developed, so that the variety of diseases can be cured very easily. Then you can see that antibiotics are also used in livestock and poultry to check the microbial infections to the animals. So in poultry, like where these hens are being cultivated, like they are given shelter, there these antibiotics are even mixed with the fed of the livestock. So what the food we give, they add this antibiotics so that they are trying to check the infections in the animals. So they check the what amount of microbial infections have been coming from those to those animals. So they are also used in controlling the many plant diseases. So these microorganisms, you can see that in one or the other way they are useful to all the living organisms, like whether it is plants or animals, they are being used. Plants, they are used for the control of the diseases. So there are many diseases, like you can see some leaves after some time they don't grow, that some plants they don't grow. To what extent? So the leaves get converted into yellow color as they are grown to some level, so they don't grow healthy. So those type of diseases can be controlled. And in case of animals, like we human beings take these antibiotics so that they kill the viruses or the bacteria, or they stop the growth of that bacteria. So now what is this vaccine? So till now we have seen the microorganisms, how they are useful to us. Now we'll see vaccine. So you can see that when disease carrying microbes enter our body, they try to produce the antibodies in our body. So when a disease is carried by the microbes, we have some of the antibodies in it. So what they do is some of the antibodies which have been in our body, they try to act against these viruses or the fungi that they come into the body. So if the invader or the bacteria, when they come, these antibodies try to fight them or kill them, or growth of them is being stopped. So you can see that if the antibodies which in our body which are present, those are very weak, then what happens is the bacteria or the some microorganisms which they enter into the body, they become very strong and they act on our body so that we get some of the disease. So that cases should not happen, then we give the vaccines. So you can see some of the vaccines have been given for plague, polio, then there is smallpox, so chickenpox. For all these, we give these vaccines. So these antibodies, they remain in our body and they will protect us from the disease causing microbes forever. So we try to give these vaccines for the polio, smallpox or chickenpox or the plague. So you can see that several diseases like including tuberculosis, then we have smallpox, then we have hepatitis. For all these, we are giving, or these can be prevented by the taking of this vaccination. So in our childhood, you might have seen or you might have known that many vaccinations, so many kind of vaccinations have been given to us by our parents. What you need to do is try to make a list of those vaccinations. So you can ask your parents, like it is a mom, dad, or any of them, try to know what are the different vaccines that they have given to us. Like some of them may be like polio, they will give till 5 years. Then some may be for the plague, or some may be for smallpox. So you can try to find out from them, ask them what are the different vaccines that they have given to us. Try to know those names so that you will understand the further classes very easily. You can prepare a list of that vaccines which have been taken by you. So it is very essential to protect all the children or small children against these diseases. So available vaccines have been given in nearby hospitals. So will be taken to hospitals so that we give these vaccines so that we get prevented from those attack of those microorganisms. So you can see that many advertisements have been given in TV or in newspapers regarding the protection of the child against polio, plague, smallpox. So they give these various advertisements, whether they say that on today's day we are giving for polio vaccine. So please do get the child between 1 to 5 years, below 5 years. Please do vaccinate for the polio to prevent this polio. In some cases, we get the advertisements like for the smallpox or the plague, so that the child gets prevented from these diseases. We try to give the advertisements. Then you can see that a worldwide campaign has been done to prevent or to eradicate the polio effect. So they eradicated, and there is no polio disease has been seen. So in the same way, the world campaign, it was world campaign which was done to eradicate the smallpox, that led to eradication in most of the parts of the world. So these days vaccines have been come on large scale from the microorganisms to protect human beings, other organisms from several diseases. So you have seen that in today's class, we have seen what are the microorganisms. So those which are not visible, those microorganisms, small animals, those are called as microorganisms. Then we have seen commercial growth and how these microorganisms are being useful to us. We have seen in today's class. So in the next class, we see the further chapter, that is how this bacteria or the activity of the microorganisms helps in increasing the soil fertility. Then how does it helps in cleaning of the environment? Then we'll go for the harmful microorganisms. So there are some harmful microorganisms which are present, those have the serious they are very poisonous, or they get we get impacted by their action. So there are some dangerous or serious effects that have been taken place in the microorganisms. We are going to see by those effects we are facing the problems. So I hope in today's class is clear for you all. So in the next class we'll be seeing the further chapter. So if you get any of the doubts, so please let me know so that I can clear it for you all. So we have seen only the four categories and what are harmful, that is how they are friend to us, microorganisms, how they are friend to us. So they are being used in commercial place, in medicine, for curing of the diseases in case of plants and animals. In today's class, in next class, we will be seeing how they are harmful, and the other 2 points, that is increase of fertility and cleaning of the environment. After that, we will see how they are harmful. Though these organisms, how they are harmful to us. So please do ask doubts. So if it is not clear for you all, please do ask doubts so that I can clear it to you all as soon as possible. So don't carry for the things to become very burden to you all. So clear it as soon as possible. So I'll conclude for today's class. Thank you. Have a nice day.